Welcome to Storybreakers, this show where we come up with a brand new film idea off the top of our heads. I'm your host, Chris Brennan, and today we kick off our next mini-series. This time, the topic is none other than Friday the 13th. For this new run, I'm joined by horror creatives from around the world to break story on one simple question. What should the next chapter of Jason Voorhees look like? And as always, let us know in the comments what direction you would take this fabled franchise. Also, this is a touring series, which means that many of the episodes will premiere on the channels of our guest contributors, but we'll be bringing every session together in one Friday the 13th playlist on the Storybreakers YouTube channel. For updates on who's involved and where to find the other episodes, follow us on Instagram at Storybreakers, and make sure you're subscribed to both the Storybreakers and our guests' YouTube channels so you don't miss an episode. All right. Let's get into it. Joining me for today's Friday the 13th session is YouTube film critic and horror aficionado, Drumdums Lee McCoy. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Always fun to be here.
My pleasure. And yeah, this is the Friday the 13th run. So, let's get started. My first question, Lee, is what is your relationship with the Friday the 13th franchise?
It's the first franchise that literally scared me. I've shared this story in the past, but when I was around 10 years old, I remember I was having a sleepover with my cousin. I think it was at my house. And we had one of those big sofa hide-a-beds, and we're in the living room. And we're watching Friday the 13th Part 3. And the scene where Jason grabs the guy, squeezes the side of his head, and then the eyeball pops out at the screen. That destroyed me. I was just so freaking scared. And I didn't know movies could scare me this bad. But even before seeing that, I remember when my mother would drop me off when I was around 6 years old or something. And she'd drop me off to the babysitter. And I remember one of these little 13-inch TVs, and they're showing TV spots for Friday the 13th Part 2, I think it was. And just the trailers for these movies freaked me out when I was a little kid. So I've always been kind of attached to Jason as a character. I've always found him fascinating. And I think from that point on, I was always a Friday the 13th fan.
Oh, great. And it's interesting that your first encounter was with the hockey mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was Part 3.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It was with the hockey mask. Yeah, but it wasn't really the hockey mask itself didn't scare me. It was just the kills and the violence. And Jason, he literally gave no craps whatsoever. He was his sole purpose was just to kill, to destroy, like the Terminator almost, even though Jason was before the Terminator. But yeah, and the kills were just so violent, and I think I'd never seen anything that violent up to that time. And I think what scares us also interests us. And I think that you can either do two things. You can run away from it and never want to watch it again, which some people do, and that's why they don't like horror. And then you can go into it and become obsessed with it. And that's what happened to me. I really think Jason Voorhees is what made me obsessed with horror.
Wow.
Halloween's my favorite franchise. And Michael Myers is the only guy that gave me nightmares. But Jason in the real world petrified me. It scared me to death even before I saw I think any Halloween movies. Halloween 4 was, I think, the first one that really got me. But yeah, I got to give that credit to Jason Voorhees for sure.
Wow. And obviously Halloween inspired Friday the 13th. They watched that. Mm-hmm. They saw killer, slasher, date/holiday theme, and they went with that. And it actually changed Halloween. For the sequel of Halloween 2, they were we have to kind of up our ante with the violence to match the... not copycat, but the one that we inspired ended up inspiring Halloween, which I think is very fascinating as well.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Instead of because some people can take the approach of if you copy me, for lack of a better word, tasteful word, but if you copy me, then I got to do something different. But this was a case where, this is what the market loves right now, so I think we have to capitalize on this. So yeah, let's go violent, let's go bloody. And that's what they did for Halloween 2. And a lot of people love Halloween 2.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I always grew up, I was aware of Jason and Friday the 13th. So, like, the hockey mask made sense. So when I started actually watching them, I went in order. I was so confused. The first one, I'm like, wait, what? Second one, bag on head? And I'm like, what? I'm like, what's happening here? You know, like, what? Like, so it was a really eye-opening experience to just be like, it's not what I thought it was.
No.
Because I was kind of pop culture-wise taught that there was something else to this. So it was actually a bit more layered and a bit more surprising than I first thought.
It's one of the only franchises, slasher franchises, that I can think of that you don't get to the iconic mask until the third entry. And these days, I don't think studios would take that chance. I think, after the first couple of movies, if they're not a hit, then they're gonna, it's gonna be canceled, because it's hard to keep franchises going these days. It seems like then it wasn't. Back in the 80s, I think they took more chances with things, maybe because budgets were smaller. So, I don't think Friday the 13th, if it came out in the last decade, I don't think it would go as far as it did, just because of that reason, because there's not a signature look for the killer until the third movie, which is kind of interesting. Again, I don't think any other franchise has done that I can think of.
That's very true. And just in general, I think a lot of entertainment, like, you'd look at, like, if you watch the early Seinfeld seasons, like, they're figuring themselves out. And they would say, like, oh, we were always on the brink of being canceled until, like, we kind of found our voice. And I just think, you're right. In modern times, beyond just the horror, but beyond not finding that iconic look, I think a lot of series, films, franchises, they're not given that chance to develop and nurture and develop their voice. It's like, you have it now, or we'll look for somebody else. And, like, you get that one shot. It's like, that's really difficult, especially because the nature of this is collaborative. Like, you got to come out with a true vision.
Just the landscape too of like television these days. And I mean, there's umpteen different streaming services. Then you still have your cable that are still kind of trying to survive, going on fumes. But you have, and each of those has probably like 5 or 10 of their own shows. Whereas back when Seinfeld first came out, there was probably maybe 10, 20% of the volume of shows back then. So they were willing to take more risks. Whereas these days, it's got to be a hit immediately, or we're done with it and we got to move on. Yeah. Perfect example, going to movies, Megan 1 was a big hit. Megan 2 comes out and it's a flop. So they just discarded the instead of saying, okay, let's learn from our mistakes. Let's come back with a part 3 and, maybe we can make a big hit out of this again. I think back in the 80s, they would have done that. Whereas these days, they don't. They just, okay, we're done with Megan. Now let's move on to the next thing. And you already established sort of a small fan base for Megan as a character. So I think Megan will maybe eventually come back. But yeah, it's weird.
It was refreshing that Blumhouse and producer Bloom, he just freely admitted, like, he's like, look, we made the wrong decision with it.
He did.
I was surprised when I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, you're going into like Terminator T-1000 kind of fun, crazy genre mix. And I was like, uh-oh, I think you guys overcooked this idea.
And I liked it. I preferred the second one over the first, but you're right. I think they wanted them. But even if they would have just kind of did more of the same, would it have been a hit? Who knows? These days, everything's kind of a toss-up.
It might be that way. Like, you could probably continue that road, but that's the diversion you take, and you take a hit on it short term. But, like, that was the decision. You want to change the genre. The people who showed up are probably like, I expected something different. So you're basically trying to invite a whole new audience to something that wasn't established for them to begin with. You just got to take a risk. But in terms of Friday the 13th, what I find so fascinating is there hasn't been one since 2009. And I think it's because of, like, contractual rights disputes. But for me, I just find it so fascinating that such an iconic franchise that's based on a date, so you already have the release date in the title, which is just genius. It's like, you guys can't, like, somebody figure this out? Like, it's been 2009 until now, which is what brings us to today. So we are saying, what should the next Friday the 13th chapter look like? And we're going to figure this out off the top of our heads today. So how does that sound, Lee?
Scary and fun.
I guess to kick us off, I think the first question is it a reboot? Is it a prequel? Is it a sequel? Or this time, let's have even a little extra fun, and I'll add in a versus match because there is canon in it where Jason has one against Freddy. So, like, he's quite elastic as a character. So I guess that kind of decides everything else going forward. And considering there hasn't been one since 2009, I think we've got a fresh playground to play with right now.
I think there's a couple of different ways you could go with this. And the Crystal Lake series, which should be coming out this year, they're exploring Pamela Voorhees and how that, we don't know how much of Jason is going to be in the show, but that sort of sparked an idea that I was thinking, we never really got to see a teenage Jason Voorhees. And do we even know if teenage Jason killed people? They never really explored that. He just kind of shows up in part 2 and he's a young adult, I think, and then he just starts offing people. So because of how simple Friday the 13th is, you know, being at Camp Crystal Lake, Jason, we know that he has been living at Camp Crystal Lake ever since he was a boy. And after his mother died, so I think you could start the movie off with Pamela Voorhees dying, just like they did in the 2009 reboot. But then in that one, they bounced forward. I think in this one, you could go pretty much from that point and maybe skip 5 years to when he's actually a teenager. And then, because you're always going to have people coming to Camp Crystal Lake, people that are curious about the legend of you know, Pamela Voorhees. It became this kind of like ghost story that you tell around the campfire. And so I think there's your victims. I think Friday the 13th always works best, I think, when it's simple. And I think that's what you do here. You have a young Jason Voorhees and just a group of you know, curious young, you know, teenagers coming onto the camp, and then he just starts offing them, you know.
A bit like Batman Begins, Jason Begins.
Jason Begins. There's your title right there. It kind of works.
Yeah. Honestly, it's really nice. And it's interesting because in a previous run we did back in October, we did Halloween. So we came up with Storybreakers, what the next Halloween should be, and you found a gap in the lore, and you wanted to do Halloween 4, like to play off of Halloween 4 with Jamie Lloyd, and now you're looking at it again. So it's interesting that your kind of mind goes into like, what's the uncovered story, and what have we not seen from this character yet? And it's a really good idea. Go to the teenage years, like he's developing. Maybe we actually can see him be a bit sloppy and a bit
he's learning he's not like the expert killer that he would be eventually. And maybe in the teenage years he could be discovering himself, and maybe he starts accidentally finding all these signature kills that, you know, Friday the 13th is known for. It's known for the kills. So maybe he kind of accidentally stumbles on these fun and interesting ways to kill his victims, you know, and at first it's really sloppy and he almost ends up getting killed himself.
I like it. Because even I was thinking like he doesn't kill some people. Like there's people that get away. Like I know in the stories, like the final girl gets away and some people, but I mean, there should be like setups where we're like, oh, it's going to happen. And he misses. And you're like, wait, what? Jason missed?
Yeah.
He
like the very first victim lives, you know, he or she was cut. But because he's not, you know, he's unsure of himself, we'll just say it's a female. She ends up being able to outsmart him, and she gets away. And then she goes and tells her friends or whatever. And then they, you know, she sees that he's young, you know, so because like, does he even have a mask at this time? Probably not. You know, he's probably, unless he puts on like the sack head or something like that. Yeah. But and I think that's how you make it a little bit more interesting and different than every other Friday the 13th movie. This is a very young, unsure Jason. So Jason Begins.
What about this? Like what you were saying actually made me think of a moment I haven't seen in these franchises. What if they started hunting him? Yeah. Based on what you just said there about like the first victim survives, runs to the people. So you've got probably your Again, keep it simple, keep it like you've got your men, your women, your like the alphas, the jocks. Like I'm happy to keep these kind of tropes.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Staples,
Play
but
off
like
of that.
they'd be like, what? There's like some oddball in the woods attacking you. Like let's get him. You know?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you got Jason on the defense, like early on.
Yeah.
And we could turn that around again, but it just gives us in the midpoint, up until the midpoint maybe, just a different dynamic that's fresh. We've got the iconography.
He's
of
being
the woods.
hunted for like up until the midpoint, and then like the midpoint, he starts kind of figuring things out and getting a little bit more of his confidence because maybe he
finds his
just
voice.
finally killed somebody, and he's like, okay, let's go. I got this. And it's like the jock douchebag. We got to establish this villainous type of character, even though he is one of the prey. He's just an asshole. And so, yeah, that particular character is kind of the tipping point of the movie where Jason's like, he's angry because maybe that guy kind of like egged him on or something like that, made fun of his mother or something like that. And so then Jason's like, okay, this is where I stand up, and he puts on the mask for the first time. He finds a hockey mask just kind of laying around in a shed or something like that. Yeah. And this is like the moment in the middle of the movie where he rises up and says, okay, now I'm the man. And then he goes after them.
I like it. I can see even the asshole, maybe he's the one with the hockey mask. But if he like breaks his hockey stick and goes attacking, I don't know. I was thinking like the asshole could have the machete and he's like, I'm just an asshole with a machete. And like he's the one who introduces this weapon itself to Jason. I don't want to do too much of like that kind of thing. I know that can grate on audiences, the member berries, and like establishing that in this one story, this is where all the iconography comes from. Yeah. But I think you can have a little bit of fun with it, especially if we have an early developing slasher on our hands here who I don't want to make him too sympathetic either. Like we're not.
No, you don't want to do that with Jason.
But like he should just be that relentless psychopath, but hasn't really found his target yet. Hasn't really found like his voice and his motivation. But in this scenario, he kind of like finds himself, and that kind of sets us off at the next ones. And then you could also just kind of go, look, maybe you can play with the timeline, so it doesn't have to be. Oh, actually, that's a good question. Is it actually? Are we putting it in like the 80s, or are we kind of updating it so it's modern teenagers?
I've always preferred to put it like in the 80s. Anytime I watch a movie, a horror movie, and it happens to be set in the 80s or the 70s, to me, that's always like a bonus, but it is kind of like a preference. Whereas the younger audience that goes in to watch this movie, maybe they don't want that. I don't know. So I'm kind of up in the air about it. But, I mean, let me ask you this. What would be the benefits of putting it in the modern day with cell phones and all that stuff? Do you think that would be a hindrance to the movie, or do you think it would be actually kind of interesting to say, hey, let's explore that. What can we do with cell phones? Because you can always make cell phones disappear, or you can get rid of the cell service, right? We have no service. They always use that trope.
I think in general, as a writer, and speaking with other writers too, I used to joke about how the phone is the killer of drama because communication in general is a drama killer. That's why a lot of rom-coms, it comes into misunderstandings, keeps people apart. You know? But when it comes to a phone, that's the solution pretty much to any of your problems. So there's nothing else you can do except have someone lose the phone, bad battery, no signal. So I actually love the idea of setting it in the 80s, and then it doesn't have to be like synced all the way, but you have this element or this kind of feeling that this could slot into the other episodes, like the other films. It's like, oh, this is the one.
Yeah, that gives you a starting point.
Yeah, it comes after the first Friday the 13th. It's like that kind of feels nice. And if you look at a film like X by Ty West, that was kind of set.
It's almost like another character, right, in and of itself. The time frame, because everybody loves the 70s. It just has a certain vibe to it in a horror movie. And Ty West, he actually makes it feel like it's the 70s. Because there's some movies that are set in like the 80s, like Totally Killer, right, which is a really fun movie, but it feels like today. The characters feel like today, even though it's supposed to be set in the 80s. Whereas you got filmmakers like Ty West that can actually give you that aesthetic. You know, you almost forget, okay, this feels like an older movie. And I think that's what you want to go for. So if you get somebody like a Ty West to do a teenage Jason movie and give it that authentic feel, then yeah, I mean, you might have something there.
I think that's actually a great suggestion for the director too.
Yeah, it is.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So look how far we've gotten already. So we're saying it's basically a sequel to the original Friday the 13th, where set in the 80s, Jason is a teenager. The incidents already happened. So are we saying that Camp Crystal Lake is now closed because of the incident and people are kind of showing up to kind of mess around there? Or are we trying to play with the idea that they've opened it up again and you have more of the camp counselor camp dynamic? Which one do you want to go with?
You know,
is it a
hearing you say
camp?
it out loud, I do love the idea of having the camp dynamic. Initially, I was thinking it's closed and people are curious and they go there, but I forgot the thing I do love about those first few Friday movies, especially the first 4, is that camp counselor dynamic. It's so fun for some reason, you know. There's more of like because everything's kind of darker these days with movies, you know, with horror movies. It feels like the go-to is to just make everything dark and sinister. But I think people forget, as bloody as those early Friday movies were, even part 4, the characters are what bring the light. The characters are so fun, and there's almost like an innocence to them, even though they're wanting to hook up and have fun and maybe get drunk and whatever. For some reason, it still feels sort of innocent because of their age, because they're not like bad people. They're not wanting to hurt anybody. You know, they're not really jerks or anything like that. You know, they're like, you don't really have a Trent in the first few Friday movies. Everybody seems very likable. And I think that's part of what makes you care about them so much when they are getting killed. You're like, oh man, I really like that character. You know, she was really fun, you know, bubbly. And then when you see her getting killed, it just kind of, I don't know, it adds some weight to it.
I agree. I wasn't one to lead you either way, but for me personally, I would love to see the summer camp dynamic because it's been so absent for so long. Because once the new people came in and took a stab at it, they just kept getting further and further removed from the actual summer camp quality of it. You might have flashbacks here and there or little flashes of memories, but I was like, I don't know, like it would be kind of fun to go back to like an actual summer camp. Keep that look, that visual, that vibe.
I like it
going.
If you could actually make it feel like an actual, like say 1980, 81 Friday the 13th Part 2. If you could recreate that actual look and feel, because everybody loves Part 2. Yeah. I think Part 4 is my favorite movie, but as far as like the overall aesthetic and the characters, I think I prefer Part 2. There's a charm to Part 2 that I think is infectious. And you got arguably one of the greatest final girls ever in Jenny. So I guess that's a good transition into the final girl of this movie, right? If we could somehow recreate a Jenny type of character, not being Jenny herself, but just, you know, having her own voice and character. But, you know, what are the things about Jenny that worked so well? I actually met Amy Steele a couple of years ago at a convention, and I wanted to pick her brain. And I was like, why is Jenny so great? And she told me Jenny's so great because she's not the strongest person in the room. She's not the smartest person in the room even, but she's smart enough. And she is able to overcome fear. You know, she's still afraid, but she's able to overcome it enough to outsmart Jason. Because that's what she's doing in Part 2. She's always kind of like 2 steps ahead of him. And then when she gets into the shack, you know, she becomes Pamela Voorhees. All these, and we're on that ride with her. We love her, and there's very few final girls that were able to pull off so many different elements like Jenny was. So, if you know, I think having a teenage Jason story with him finding his voice, finding himself, and then having him meet his ultimate match with a final girl that's every bit as interesting and fun as Jenny, I think. Yeah, you got the makings of a great slasher movie.
Yeah, that's true. Have you ever played the game The Quarry?
No.
It's like one of those kind of I guess, telltale type of games where you get to choose which direction to go. So you do play the character a bit, but a lot of it is like you're kind of watching a slasher film, or you're watching a horror film, and you get to choose what the decisions are of the characters. I just played it in October for the first time, and it's set at a summer camp the day it closes.
Yeah.
And they stay one more night. And I was
that's
like,
a great idea.
That is so unique.
They're closing up the summer camp.
Yeah. So like you don't have the kids around, you don't have the like minding kids, but you've got that entire element. And even that decision they made where it was like the person who runs the camp told us we can't stay tonight. Mm-hmm. And then they decided to, so they broke the rule. I was like, I just loved that setup. I thought it was so interesting. And you got all like, then they run around the camp, they're finding clues, that kind of stuff. But I don't know, it could be some. So I guess what I'm saying is we can set it like the day the camp is opening. We can set it during the camp, like in mid-season, or like the day it ends. So we don't have. There's a lot of options we can play with timeline-wise with the camp. So in that
I
regard,
actually
what kind of
like the
thing
day it's opening.
The day it's opening?
I like the day it's opening, and let me tell you why. Because I think they would close the camp after what happened with Pamela, and I think it would be closed for quite a while. So let's say it was closed, and maybe there was like a money issue. Nobody wants to front the money to reopen it for so many years because of what happened, and so maybe that's why the timeline ended being a little bit longer. And so then when that's what kind of brings Jason back, because he's just been laying dormant in his shack the whole time, living off of the wildlife and everything. And then he's like, he hears scurrying. He's like, what's going on? And he sees kids having fun, like teenagers having fun, camp counselors getting the camp ready. They're having their daily tasks, getting everything set up. And that's when Jason kind of comes in. And he's never killed anybody before. So he's just like, I don't want these people here. And so then he eventually, he stumbles, but then eventually he's able to actually rise up. So the story kind of writes itself.
That's true. I could even see the opening. Maybe you play like the 2009 one. You kind of want to reestablish what happened previously with Pamela. But then it might go into like a fast play of watching like the Camp Crystal Lake be set up again. Like a few years later, you see like the sign being put back up, being painted, and they're like, we're opening back up. Yeah. You even probably have some audio, some voiceovers of people disagree, and it's like, no, it's been enough time, some moody music underneath, and you're kind of just setting the table here of like getting
kind of a metaphor for the franchise too, giving it a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah. It's like, it's been too long. Like, there's been too much history here. And it's like, no, it's time. Like, it's time. It's all here. Like, why don't we give it a new history? Like it's actually interesting how they say that.
I just thought of something. What if Jason, because he's a teenager himself, what if he kind of like infiltrates, he kind of like just walks into the camp and they don't know he's Jason Voorhees. They don't know he's a killer. Yeah. So they see him as this mentally challenged boy. And so they kind of like give him tasks and everything. And so that's kind of his way to get to know the lay of the land and, who's who. And he discovers the jock kid. And then there's always somebody that's going to pick on Jason, right? And that's when it's sort of like, what if Jason wasn't even bad for a good amount of time after that? And then all of a sudden, reality brings him back to being bad and hateful, because people suck in general, right? There's always there's always a certain crowd that, they could be jocks, or even stoners can be assholes. And so maybe one of them like maybe beats up Jason, something like that, because he's in the way. And, some people that are really mean to mentally challenged people too. So,
I have something similar, and I actually nearly said it when you were highlighting the final girl, like the top qualities of the final girl. When you were saying that, I was thinking, what if our new protagonist, she's a camp counselor, but her younger brother is now going to be there as a camper, but he actually has a disability.
Yeah.
And so you have this little arc with her where she has that empathy for that. And maybe it isn't that Jason is the one who's abused, but he sees them bullying this other challenged
that's
child.
good.
And
That's
that
good.
triggers him. But then it gives our main character some kind of vantage point or some point of view with it. Like, so you can even see how Jason might find her a bit of a security, a bit of a motherly figure, right? And like, because I think that's always a trope with Jason is like trying to find his mother in all these female characters he meets.
Yeah, and Jason
But it
doesn't
gives us
really have a
something
moral
different then.
compass because he's been living by himself. He doesn't know that murder is bad. You know, he's been living on his own the whole time, right? And so when he comes upon this camp and he starts kind of getting to know all these people, and he develops sort of a liking to her because she's got a brother of her own, he thinks everything's hunky-dory. But then the first time somebody goes the other way and is a complete jerk to Jason and maybe goes so far as to like scold him and make fun of him in front of a crowd of people to where he just like, that's the snap. He ends up just kind of like running off, and then, you know, that's where the killing starts. He's had enough. So you could have this conflicting type thing too, because then maybe this character that he likes, she's trying to like reason with Jason, and somehow it ends up to where like, it's almost like Michael Myers a little bit, where all the good eventually just dissipates. It's gone.
Yeah.
And he just becomes a stone cold killer. There's something in this movie that's got to trigger that, I think.
How about this? So day one of camp, love that idea. He comes sniffing around because he's curious, suspicious, cautious, and he's untrustworthy of them. He sees our main character. Let's give her a name so we can stop talking about main character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind, like Nancy, or no, it can't be Nancy, I guess. Leanne or something, you know, like, I don't mind
Leanne's
what it
good.
is.
Daisy.
So, so he sees Leanne. He sees her younger brother. That's really curious, and it's kind of messing with his head because he's seeing somebody who's similar to him. He's like, okay, I'm kind of confused. So you can actually have him more of like an outside observer. And then I can imagine he actually goes into the camp a little bit, and they kind of see him. Some people are like snickering or kind of joshing about it. Leanne sees him, invites him over, right? So then he kind of feels like he's kind of getting a little bit involved, but if we want to keep it on day one, all of this needs to happen like within that morning, you know? I could see then that somebody picks on the younger brother, let's call him Bobby. And Jason tries to intervene, gets really aggressive, and they tell him, like, you have to go. Like, okay, look,
I like that.
You have to go. And he's kicked out of camp.
Oh,
and that's when secret, like, one by one, people started getting picked off.
Yeah.
And because we've had that entire inciting incident where he saw himself in the other boy getting bullied, he got really aggressive, doesn't know his own strength. I've always saw Jason as a bit of a juggernaut, whereas Michael Myers is a bit more of a smooth, direct killer.
Yes.
This guy will just burst through the door. So
Yeah.
you have this teenager who has this surprising a level of strength to him.
Yep.
And they're like, well, he's not even part of the camp. We're going to get sued. Like, and we can't have that after what just happened a few years ago here. Like, we can't have any of this. They don't know who he is. They just saw he was like a local kid. And they're like, get out. Like, and she might even be the one going, look, you're going to have to leave. And so she's the one who
She's the one that's got to tell him. Oh, and it breaks her heart. And then he's like conflicted. And I can carry it further because then they cast him out. So he goes back to his shed, wherever he lives, and it's raining at night, and, you know, to add some atmosphere, right? And he's just sitting there stewing, because that's what people do when they got nothing else to do. They just sit there and they stew in their anger. And all of a sudden, you start seeing these flashbacks of kids picking on him, and then the final flashback he sees is his mother dying, his mother getting killed, Alice chopping her mother's head off, you know. And I think all these different flashbacks just like flutter in like super fast time in his head. And then that's when he's like, you see the eye, you know, remember in like a Friday the 13th where they'd have the music and then you see like a close up on Jason's eyeball.
Yeah.
And then you hear the, That's when he becomes Jason. And then that's when he goes back. He's got his machete, and he goes after the first victim being like the jock, you know?
Yeah.
And
I can see that.
It's almost like a rebirth. There's the before, and then he's kicked out, and then there's the after. And he's like this rebirth, this new Jason.
Have you seen Blowout, the Brian De Palma film with
Dude,
John
I'm looking at a poster of Blowout right now. It's on my wall. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, wow. They have this amazing shot where it's like cameras situated in the center, and it just does this 360.
Yeah.
And they walk around it.
Great
I could
scene.
see it, like a shot like that.
Yes.
Where like he's just decided, and so he gets up and he's walking around, and the camera is just constantly like leaving him.
Yeah.
And then finally, when it swings around, he's not there, but the door is open, and the rain and the thunder, and you're like, oh no, he's going to get them. But it's done in this little like artistic way where you're like, where is he? Where is he in this room? Which becomes a big thing with this type of slasher, is where's the killer? But just have that kind of 70s throwback De Palma camera angle, I think could be really intriguing, where you're like, oh no, he's going to do it. It's a bit prolonged. It's a bit suspenseful. And then it ends with that classic door open shot in the dark. And you're like, uh-oh, it's on. Like he is now going to get some revenge.
There's a little bit of a De Palma type feel, I think, to like the first Friday the 13th. You know, there's just certain, especially once the tension ramps up and everything, you know, you can kind of compare it to like Carrie. Has sort of a similar vibe to it. So, I like that idea of doing some sort of like De Palma type camera moves, you know, like the spinning room and everything. I'm a De Palma freak. I freaking love De Palma. So, yeah, you're definitely going to win me over with that.
Great. So now it's on. So now he's going to be going. And I don't think he's Juggernaut yet. I think he is he's cautious.
Yep.
And he probably goes after somebody. We said as well he doesn't succeed maybe the first time, which I think is quite interesting.
And I think the audience would get into that too, you know, watching Jason stumble and fall and maybe not completing, you know, the kill the first time, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe he completes the kill, but it's sort of a long time. Remember like in the movie Creed, when you have his Adonis's like first big fight and there's that one take camera, and it just never cuts for the entire scene. Maybe Jason's first real kill is a one take shot, and it just goes through, you know, chaos. That's what the whole scene feels like, chaos. But eventually you realize they're not cutting. The camera is following him, trying to kill this kid, you know, and just to add some, just like a unique touch to it, I guess, and to really emphasize that the chaos that's going on. Because he's never really killed before, you know? So he's got to become the killer.
This is the jock that bullied Leanne's brother, Bobby. He's going to go straight to this guy. And maybe we begin with those classic moments that we all kind of anticipate, where he kind of shows up in the background and then disappears. And it's all one shot. And the audience are like, we know where this is going. Okay, here it is. And then it just turns into this elongated fight. This bloody, violent fight where he just can't get it, and he's even on the back burner. He's on, and
he gets punched like over and over. And he even like maybe gets picked up and like thrown down. But maybe this is where Jason starts to realize this freakish strength that he has, and he's like, "I'm not getting hurt." He's doing all these things that would normally really screw somebody up physically, you know, and most people would stay down, but Jason's not really feeling it, and he just keeps getting up. And even the jock starts realizing it.
Stay down. Get away from me, you freak. Like he's like really aggressive. He's like, just get away. Like, go away. But for the jock's sake, he's like, I could just annihilate this teenager. Yeah. But like I keep thinking of Captain America. I could do this all day.
I could do this all day.
But he's silent and he just keeps getting up. And eventually, it would be kind of funny if it spilled out to the docks and the bully threw him in the water, and that freaks out Jason because, you know, that's a big phobia of his. And like that's kind of how it's like that kind of ends that conflict. But you're like, oh my God, Jason got like beaten.
Yeah.
You know, and then the guy turns around and he's like, I'm getting my friends, and they go back out and he's gone. And you're like, okay, great. So we've established this, but Then do we go this direction then, where they start looking for him? I enjoy this reversal where the jock and his friends, it's like, look, day one of camp, we're not going, like, it's the first night of camp. We're not going to have this psycho out there, like, bothering us. The kids are coming in tomorrow. Like, we can't have this. Let's go find him. And it's like, wow, this is so unique. Yeah. And he's hiding in the woods, and he, like, is kind of like Predator a little bit.
Yeah, like he's just waiting for the but like he's still unsure of himself. So he's got to like think on his feet, and he's got to figure something out. So he kind of just goes into hiding. Yeah. And every Friday the 13th, especially the early movies, they're known for having like nudity and like maybe sex scenes and stuff like that. So he stumbles upon these two camp counselors, and they're like, you know, going at it or whatever. And so that's our like titillating scene that you get in a Friday the 13th movie. And so he kills them because there's this like thirst for blood. He's like, because after he like attempts the first kill, it almost becomes like a high for him. And then maybe he's even questioning it, like, why did I enjoy that so much? And so then he ends up like, you know, killing the young couple, you know, maybe sort of like in Rob Zombie's Halloween when Danielle Harris, she's on the couch with that kid. Maybe sort of like that, Jason like kind of stumbles upon them and they like freak out. And so he's kind of forced, because they're yelling, he's got to kill them. And so that's basically what he does. One of them ends up like running away while he kills the other one, something like that. Yeah. So to kind of keep the story moving forward, the other people, they hear it. So then they start coming in. And then so after he kills that person, he runs away. And so, you're right. It's like they're hunting him and then he's hunting them. So I think that just keeps the story interesting the entire time. You know, there's no.
And I
like,
agree
really...
with the pace. When this kicks off, it's got to be like relentless. I agree.
Relentless.
It's like when you watch Indiana Jones, like when that kicks off, it just keeps going.
Yeah, it never
and
stops.
Like, oh my god! Like I see that. Actually, I'll have one idea for that. I love the idea that he's like maybe trying to look for a place to hide, stumbles upon this couple having sex. I could actually see them being like, get out of here, and like the guy throws a shoe at him, hits him in the head, and like that's like another one. Like, so it's like, it's not just like, because we want him silent, so it's very difficult to get that motivation out. But like, if he just keeps coming across these teenagers who keep treating him or people like him like shit. So like he just
for a brief second, someone was nice to him. Yeah. And then that's all just kind of taken away. Yeah. And so now he's just he's angry.
I can even see like the couple having sex going like, get out of here. Like, go. But he gets hit with the shoe and then just snaps. And that's the first kill he actually has. I agree. Like he should get them. Maybe kills the dude right away. I don't know, because we haven't really given him a weapon yet.
They throw a shoe at him. The shoe hits him. He pulls out like a little hunting knife that he has. And so they throw a shoe. He throws the hunting knife right in the guy's forehead, because he is good with that, because he eats animals. So
I agree.
Yeah,
she runs. So now you got to chase. Yeah, that's his first chase.
There's
it. Screaming. There's chaos. Everyone in the camp, because it's not. They're not like miles away. They're like, what is going on? Oh my god! Like, what is this?
It's a small area.
She comes racing through the camp butt naked.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's out there. We got to give this bully a name as well. Like, I don't know. Like
Dirk?
Mark or Dirk. Yeah. Dirk.
Yeah.
Like, because I can start seeing him becoming basically like the antagonist for Jason, you know?
Yep.
And Dirk is like, he's now like there getting his guys together. It's like, look, we're going to find him. She comes bucking in like the camp, like screaming, and he's back there, and they're like, okay, let's get him. They grab weapons. What do we have? So they have like knives, machete, I think has to be one of them. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're going to feed Jason his future weapons, you know? Like maybe a fireplace poker as well, you know?
Yeah, like a stoker.
Like just these things where like we can remember from like famous Jason kills. They're going out there hunting him down with these kind of found weapons in the camp, you know?
Well, at its core, Friday the 13th, especially the first one, you can look at it as kind of an anti-bully type movie, because Pamela stresses that, you know, they weren't paying attention, You get the idea that Jason was bullied.
Yeah.
And so this kind of brings it full circle by having Dirk, this bully. They've never really done that in a Friday movie either, where Jason has his main, antagonist is a bully of him. You've had,
Yeah.
like Trent is sort of a bully, but he's not bullying Jason. He's bullying, whoever the other guy is. So yeah, this is somebody that's actually bullying Jason. And that's kind of like the satisfying kill, right? The kill that the crowd's like cheering after. They want him to kill this guy because he's such a jerk.
Yeah. And you have Leanne in the camp trying to go stopping Dirk. Going, what are you doing? Leave. Like, what's going? She's protective of her brother, so she's not running out there hunting this person. She's trying to calm down all these macho alphas who are like pseudo alphas who are like, we're gonna go get him. It's like, it's a person. It's a troubled boy. Like. Like, what are you doing? What are you going to do with that? They're pulling out weapons. So we really have like our protagonist right here. Like this, she's like, stop this, like stop trying to attack this kid, and you can actually see it from all sides now. Like you might pick a side, but you can understand the motivation behind everybody. Like even Dirk was attacked by this local teenager. And now he's like, well, we're going to have to get this kid, like,
what do you think about this?
Like we're on our own.
What do you think about this? Like after Jason kills Dirk, Leanne thinks, she thinks Jason is not going to kill her. She thinks, yeah, Jason likes me. We're on the same team here, but he's still Jason Voorhees. And so what if the very end of the movie is Leanne thinking that, she's safe, but then when she there's kind of like a face to face, and then she kind of realizes, oh, he really is a killer. And he actually goes after Leanne. And then that's like, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Leanne lives? Or do you think should he even try to kill Leanne?
I think there should be probably midpoint, a moment where they encounter each other and there's a standoff. And she doesn't know what he's going to do.
Right.
And like trying to attract a kitten, maybe she's like, come here, it's okay. Like, because in her philosophy,
God, that's perfect. Because some animals, you think they could be, friendly. You hear about animal bites all the time, because people, they take them for granted. They think they're friendly. They've never had a problem. And then the animals, I just saw Primate, funny enough, this weekend. So yeah, the animal snaps, and that's kind of what Jason's like. She's, like you said, she has this face to face with him, and she trusts him. She thinks that he can't hurt me.
Her philosophy in the camp is like, violence won't solve this.
Yeah.
Let's actually communicate and like, let's kind of broker a peace. Like, he's just troubled. He's confused. He's on his own. Like, we can help him. And Dirk and the posse's point of view is like, he's going to keep coming until we stop him.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have we're the authority here. We've got to protect ourselves. There's kids coming. We have to make sure this place is safe. That's our job. That's why we're here. We're not just here to teach them how to set fires and tell camp stories and tie knots. Like, we have to protect them. So she has this moment in the midpoint where she feels like she has the opportunity to kind of validate her point of view. And then I could actually see that get interrupted by Dirk and the crew attacking Jason.
Yeah.
So we're not sure if she actually would have got across to him, because from behind her colleagues attack Jason. And I guess the audience can go from Jason's point of view, is he thinking she set him up?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
so,
could be.
Now, we don't say that. I love keeping it up in the air, but it's quite a textured moment that will come back later on. And I think she has to get attacked in the third act. Maybe we kind of redo that moment. But this time, based on what's happened in the midpoint, Jason is not going to take that chance. He attacks her. I do think she should survive.
Yeah.
And maybe like defeat him somehow, or I'm not sure how much we
she defeats him, as much as you can defeat Jason, and then she gets away, and which kind of leaves it open for maybe a sequel, or maybe, for any final girl to come back in the next movie is a rarity anyway. I mean, look what happened to Alice. They killed her off right at the beginning. So, but I would like there to be like just a bloody showdown at the end, and Jason, you see him just get like splattered of blood all over him, and then she sees him at the end after the big fight with Dirk, and she just like, it's almost like a mirroring or something like that. Like when she first sees Jason, he looks like this innocent kid, teenager,
Right.
you know, and there's just like this peaceful look about him. And then the last thing she sees of Jason is this like guy that's been in a war. He's just got blood all over him. There's something gone in his eye, and he's changed. He's a killer now, whereas maybe at one point he wasn't a killer. But because of, whatever, because of what happened to his mother, all that stuff, that fuse was ignited, and she sees that fuse. And I love moments in movies where characters realize something without a word being said.
Yes,
they look in the eyes and they see something, and they're like, oh shit. That's what I would love for a final moment between Leanne and Jason. Like, she knows when she sees that change, and she's like, okay, he's not safe now,
So we're saying that the climax is the bloody encounter between like the rest of the group that are still alive.
Yep.
Specifically with Dirk. Bloody encounter, but then for Leanne, it's actually an escape from Jason. And we can probably play it where Jason hates water. Mm-hmm. And so she gets on a boat and gets away. And as she's drifting away, you have this moment where he's watching her, and they're separating.
The camera's like pulling back away from him as he's standing there watching her.
Yeah, and she's freaked out. She keeps watching him, keeps looking back, then he's gone.
And then the audience is wondering, are they going to do a thing where she's in the water on the boat and then Jason's going to pop up? But we don't do that.
Yeah, but also what's nice is it's the end of the first one, right? Like, it's that.
It is.
It's that moment where you're like, oh my gosh. Like,
it's kind of like an Alice moment. It is.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But it's like, we can't really have her. I can't see her being like violent. I don't think that fits her character.
No.
Since her point of view was don't be violent. So I think we get the climax with the Dirk encounter. Like, that's the bloodlust that the audience were paying for. But then for her, it's just, I got to get away from this guy. Mm-hmm. He's been like, Jason in this third act has been baptized because of this encounter. Kind of like the Alien 3 director's cut, where this monk, this prisoner, just gets splashed with blood. He feels like he's been baptized by this demon now.
Gallic,
that's why he becomes like the acolyte of the xenomorph.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like that climax with Dirk and the crew, it's brutal, it's bloody, it's violent, and the only survivors are Jason and Leanne, and they're standing there, and she's like, I can't save him. Like, he's gone. Like, he is actually, like, there might have been a chance. We don't know for sure. There might have been a chance, but he's gone now. And then she runs.
Yep. And so we need to establish some sort of action point for Leanne, because we know who she is as a character, but is there like, because she's kind of doing her own thing throughout the movie, and then she realizes that these murders are happening.
Yeah.
And then by the end, she sees the fight between Jason and Dirk, and maybe this is where she realizes what Jason is. And so then there's that face-to-face. And so do we have a chase where, like, Jason, there's a stare down for maybe a good minute. That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
Like a realization of what's going on. And then now I got to run because he's going to kill me. And so then he chases her, and that's where maybe there's even like a little bit of a scuffle, but she's able to get away, and then she gets to the boat, and then that's when she looks back and she sees him, and the camera pulls back, and then she looks back again, and then he's gone.
We have to actually include her brother in this entire scenario, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so I think that's a good thing. It's a factor that she has to then protect her brother, because now Jason is just off the
Maybe her brother's like kind of manning the boat. He actually is at the boat, and he sees her, and he's like, Leanne, and then she comes and gets in the boat with him, and then they get out of there. Because you don't want the brother to die. I don't.
No. But I
Yeah.
think that we can use him as like a mechanism and a catalyst in these kind of environments. So
Yeah.
like throughout the story, she's trying to protect him. At one point, I think she's like, "Go hide." So he's hiding, and I can imagine that. Like, let's say it's in like the camp headquarters. I just kind of see like, or the place where they have lunch at camp.
Yeah.
I see this big interior wooden environment where that final showdown happens. That's just so happens to be where the brother is hiding. So she has to go in and get her brother and avoid Jason. And then together they run. And I'm like, that's a really interesting final piece. Because
And maybe her brother.
She's got to save her. Like, I have to go in there and find him because he's hiding somewhere. I sent him in there.
Maybe that's the one thing that Jason won't try to kill is a mentally challenged person, because he at least recognizes that. Hey, that's kind of me. So he actually does it. Maybe there's even a moment where he freaking protects Bobby, But that's the one thing he'll even kill Leanne, but he will not kill Bobby because Bobby is Jason. He's similar to Jason. He almost sees his young self. Maybe Bobby's the same age as Jason was when he drowned.
Oh yeah.
And so maybe he sees Bobby as himself. And so I can't kill Bobby. He even protects Bobby. Leanne thinks because he protects Bobby, maybe he won't kill her, but he will because he's Jason Voorhees.
How about that's in the midpoint when they first meet is he actually saved Bobby. And then they have this moment and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah. That gives the audience something to play with too. Like, whoa, Jason just saved somebody, but you kind of get it because he's a mentally challenged character.
Yeah.
It's
so great. Let's go back a little bit then, because I think we're like really cruising at the end here. But let's kind of go back and play with Dirk setting off with the posse and their weapons. I'd love to just kind of develop a little bit of that scenario that kind of leads up to Leanne and encountering Jason. So they go off in the woods. Oh, we have the naked woman who just ran through, inspiring the posse to get their weapons and like, let's go hunting. And then we have this scene where maybe it is that kind of from his point of view that that thing where we're watching them hunt for him through his eyes. And maybe you even have that Halloween tribute where one of the kills happens from his point of view, which is actually
that's kind of cool.
Wild.
I like that. I like when horror franchises kind of pay homage to other. There's so many freaking slasher movies that pay homage to Halloween in little Easter egg ways. But that would be kind of cool because Friday the 13th was inspired by Halloween. Yeah. So why not put a little? Because I don't think they've ever done that either. Have a little Halloween like inspired time. I mean, there's been POV shots of Jason, but making it so the audience knows, oh, they're actually paying homage to Halloween because maybe a light turns on inside of a cabin or something like that, and then he kind of walks around
and they're going around places and he's stalking them or hiding and stalking, finds the opportunity.
That would be badass actually.
And then springs, catches them. And it has this one quality to it where it puts the audience in his point of view. So we're forcing you to be the one to like have done the kill. And it's like, like, do you feel for Jason or not? It's like he's doing something horrible, but you're seeing it through his eyes as he does it. But you have this like extended sequence where he starts picking them off one by one, which is freaking them out. You could have a lot of fun with it and turning their weapons against them. Because I do agree he had his knife, but like now they're bringing other bigger weapons, and he, with his strength, he's taking it from them, using it against them. Like, it's pretty clean. And as you say, there's a simplicity to it, which makes sense as well. We want simplicity in the storytelling.
For sure. And you could have complexity in the kills as long as the storytelling is simple. And you could even have a kill like where he kills two people. Jason gets in a fight with two of the count, and they're kind of like Dirk's toadies or something like that. And they both attack Jason. And so that could be like a cool little one take type shot, watching him like it's just a brutal scuffle back and forth. And you watch him like he kills one of them with his bare hands, and then he's able to take something off of, like one of them has like a little hunting knife or something like that, and he takes it off of him and he kills the other one with it. So
I can even see the point of view shot ending because like people are looking for him. So he kills somebody, sees another going into a building. There's an argument happening. So he goes up to the window, and that's the cutting point where there's Leanne and Bobby in there, and Dirk is like arguing with them, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like, and that's where Bobby looks at the window, sees Jason. So they have this eye contact moment. You know, Bobby runs out into the woods because he's frightened. Leanne goes after him. That's your midpoint. That's when you have Jason save Bobby in a way. They have that stare down. Dirk and the crew show up and they're like, "Good, you got him." Like, and she's like, "I didn't know. I didn't get him." Like, you know. So I think you've kind of naturally bridged the hunt to the point where like Bobby sees him, and like it all kind of like connects together quite well in that way.
Yeah. Hey, real quick on like the mask type thing.
Yeah.
Because Jason, I think you want him to have some sort of mask, be it the maybe we have him have the hockey mask. It doesn't have to have the sack head. But I think the reason I bring this up is because I think Leanne needs to see Jason early on before he starts his killing spree in a mask. So that way, by the end of the movie, when she sees him in the mask, she knows, oh, that's Jason.
Okay.
And maybe he takes they're just kind of playing around in the camp counselor while they're all like, working and doing whatnot. And Jason finds this mask and he kind of like puts it on almost like jokingly. And everybody's kind of like messing with him. And it's kind of a lighthearted moment, early in the movie. And so then he kind of like takes that mask with him. And so that way there's no confusion when Leanne sees him later and she knows, it's not really like a whodunit where she doesn't know it's Jason under the mask. And then he does it because we do that all the time with the reveal and everything. No, she knows it's Jason because of him putting on the mask earlier in the movie. Or would you rather go the whodunit route?
No, I think she should know who it is. And what you were saying inspired an idea where maybe he continuously upgrades his mask. So we're like where we're going, what is he wearing? It's like maybe he starts with a sack in his head, but he finds something that's a little better, and then he finds something else. And then the hockey mask is something
maybe we introduce a mask that's never been presented before between the sack head and the hockey mask, Yeah,
it's good. That'd for Funko, cool. Right?
I like it.
Yeah, I enjoy the idea where he keeps constantly, oh, this is better than the last one.
This is better than the last. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and for sure, she sees that mask. It pays off later in the end when they're confronting each other.
Yep.
And honestly, we have it run to the end.
I think we got a good movie there. I think that's a good Jason movie.
We got that posse, who's left of it. They've kind of driven Jason into that one building where Bobby's hiding, and they're going to have that big confrontation. They surround him, and then this like absolutely vicious, violent, bloody encounter happens. And Leanne is not part of it, but she now knows she has to go in there, and she probably goes in afterward. So you have a different tension. So you have this climactic, violent battle, but then she has to go in there in the aftermath. And where is he? Where's her brother? And you have that moment. So it's tense. It's silent. It's suspenseful. She finds her brother. They encounter Jason. The big chase scene happens. Like maybe the brother runs first because I like your idea that he's the one who gets the boat ready, you know? So then she has a scuffle with him to give her brother time to escape. She kicks Jason off. Maybe he gets a little confused with her. I like that idea. Like he has mixed emotions, but it gives her that chance to run.
Yeah, and he would because she's been nice to him,
Yeah.
So he definitely he's almost addicted to the kill. But this is a person that was actually very friendly to me. So I'm kind of conflicted, She sees the dock, her brother's in the boat. It's taken off. I like that tension too, where will she make it to the boat in time? And maybe he thinks, you know what? I don't want the cops showing up. I need to kill everybody, He's smart enough to know that.
They don't know that he has a like an issue with the water. They don't need to because it's a really clean escape for them. It's like, let's just get on a boat and let's get out of here. Yep. But his chase stops at the dock, and she
realizes, oh, he's afraid of water.
Yeah. And
as she's getting away, why isn't he coming after me? Oh, okay. So.
Yeah. A bit of Texas
hold
chainsaw.
on. I was just quick little thought. As the boat is going away, maybe she doesn't know that Jason is Pamela Voorhees' son until the end of the movie. When she knows the story. She knows that the kid drowned. So she doesn't know until the very end of the movie when she's backing up. She's like, "Oh my God, that's the boy."
Jason.
He is him.
Jason Voorhees? Yeah. Turns around again. Maybe her brother's like, "Is that the boy? What boy?"
Yeah.
The boy from the story. And she's like, "Jason?" Looks back and he's gone.
That's why you need the brother and sister there so they can have a conversation with each other to tell the audience. Yeah. She just realized that that's actually Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your like stinger at the end of the movie.
Love it. And that's
Love it, yeah.
Boom.
That was finished. Good, man.
Jason Begins.
Yeah, Jason Begins. I love it.
Oh, awesome.
That was good, man.
Yeah, we did it again. Lee.
I didn't know. I was like, all I had was teenage Jason. But that's, I think that's, you know what? That's the importance of having two writers. Because working with you, I understand that now, how ideas just bounce off of each other. And it works so much better than when you just have one person, because you just go down a tunnel and you don't know there's like nothing in the tunnel to grab onto. Whereas when it's two people, yeah.
For sure. And it's something that you're really good at is that collaborative environment. Whereas I've done this, it's very infrequent, but there are times when I do this and I tell people in advance, don't come in with a concrete idea. Conversationally, it'll change, and it's best if you go with the flow rather than like fight for your concept. And like it's part of the writing process too.
And you'll find the better story if you go with the flow almost every time.
Yeah, you're just exploring options,
Yep.
The entire concept of Storybreakers actually started as kind of a dinner party exercise when people would come to me and say like, "Oh, you're a screenwriter. I'd love to write," and I would go, "Oh, anybody can write." Like I think it's just. You have to understand the options that are available because nothing's more intimidating than a blank page. So what I try to do is eliminate the blank page immediately. So that's why we do this.
Start writing.
It usually the original one was we start with the genre. Is it set in the past, present, and future? Is it a protagonist? What gender are they? What's their profession? And is the profession related to the problem? And immediately you have developed from multiple choice questions like the key ingredients to what your story could be. But it's all options and it's all conversational and you get the right dance partner and it's lots of fun.
That's
and there's tons of like
we came up with names immediately too,
Yeah. And
like
I absolutely
Dirk and Leanne and Bobby.
And I can absolutely see this being quite a good, compelling, original Friday the 13th entry, which is really
I would watch this in a heartbeat. It would be a good story.
It isn't playing off of. It's not just jockeying from what's happened before.
It's not a Jason Greatest Hits type thing. It's an actual story-based Friday the 13th movie.
And you started with you want to care about the characters, and I think Leanne would be a very compelling character. We completely understand her point of view. And in the end, she saved her brother, and they saved each other, I guess, and they escaped. And what happened in the process is Jason developed his bloodlust. He's like he was baptized at the camp. Wonderful.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
thanks, brother. That was
thank you so much for joining me on this session. And for the audience, I hope you really enjoyed it. Well, we'd love to know. Drop it in the comments. What do you think of this version? Is this something you'd love to go see? But more importantly, how would you do it? Would it be a prequel, sequel, reboot, versus who's he going against? Let us know in the comments below. And then this is part of a playlist as well. So there's lots of other contributors that are doing their own episodes. You can find that on Storybreakers in the playlist. Or go to @Storybreakers on Instagram where you're going to see the full guest list for our Friday the 13th run. But since this is hosted on Lee's channel, maybe Lee wants to sign us out.
Everybody, I hope you guys, this got you a little bit more excited for a new Friday the 13th movie. I know we're all waiting for a new Friday the 13th movie. I think, if anything, Storybreakers proves that the story's always there. There's always different stories that you can come up with in these slasher movies. It doesn't have to be just a straight up killer chasing a victim. There could be more to the story. So that's the importance, I think, of these Storybreakers sessions. Maybe somebody will see this and get an idea and reach out to us and say, hey guys, we need to work together.
Sounds great.
But yeah, guys, since we're on my channel, thank you for watching. Be sure to follow Chris on his channel. I will have links in the info box. And thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.